Hello, and welcome to the first episode of All Things Quantum Touch with Shelly Liedtke and Renée Morris. On today's episode, the inaugural episode of our regular chats about quantum touch, we'll be introducing ourselves and answering the question, what is quantum touch? Thank you for joining. Welcome to All Things Quantum Touch with Shelly Liedtke and myself, Renée Morris. This is the inaugural episode of our regular conversations about quantum touch, all aspects of quantum touch, where we'll have casual discussions talking about different points and about our experience working with quantum touch. So I'm happy to see you, Shelly. And I'm happy to be here as well. So on tonight's episode, we're going to introduce ourselves and tell our relationship with quantum touch, and then talk about what is quantum touch, which isn't always an obvious question to answer. So Shelly, why don't you tell us about yourself, how you came to quantum touch, and who you are? And tell me too, because I feel like I do know you, but I'm sure there's many things about you that I don't know.
Okay, very good. Well, I am a quantum touch practitioner and instructor, and I've been certified since like 2008, and I have thoroughly enjoyed teaching the classes. I love the quantum touch techniques, and I use them all the time, which is why I've been using it so long. And I love sharing it, which is why I teach the classes. It's natural for me to teach what I've learned, and this was a lovely way for me to share something that I found that works so well. I actually feel like it is a life skill that is important to teach our young ones in our homes. And so I have done that with my children. They are young adults now, but as they were growing up, in their teen years, this is something that they did learn and was part of our home school. So I know I've had this conversation with Thea, and it came out that I home taught my children at home, and this energy stuff was part of that. And talking about metaphysical things and learning about metaphysics. And the nice thing about quantum touch is you do not need to know all the quantum physics calculations in order to use quantum touch. So that's the exciting thing to know right out of the chute. So anyway.
Yeah, that's great. And I completely agree. It's a beautiful modality. It's very simple and it's easy to learn. And that is a big part of the reason that I became attracted to learning quantum touch. I had known about it for a couple of years, but the timing wasn't right for me to take the training to become a practitioner. And then all of a sudden, you know how things happen, the timing is right. So I'm very, very new to quantum touch. I think from the beginning of when I started my workshops, taking the workshops to train to be a practitioner, it's been just about a year. So not a long time. And then of course I just got certified at the beginning of this year of 2022, but I love it. I use it all the time on myself. I use it on animals as well, family members, and of course clients. So I'm thrilled to have found it, and it's really, I can genuinely say that it's helped me in all aspects of my life, mind, body, and spirit, and in the most surprising of ways as well. And like you said, I consider it an actual life skill now. So it's something that I don't see myself ever not doing. It's part of who I am now. It's part of my regular routine and my self-care and my survival tools too, I would say, because when I get stressed or go through a not so great period, then I really rely on quantum touch to bring me back to balance. So that's how I am related to quantum touch now. My background, I'm a longtime entrepreneur, artisan, a lover of life, adventure of the mind, body, and spirit. And I love new experiences and I love new things. So that's a little bit about who I am. Shelly and I connected through Quantum Touch because she was one of my instructors, and I'm so grateful to have connected with you, Shelly. And really, it was your website that I clicked. When I went to your website, I was like, this is the person for me. And since that time, I think we really connected during that class. And then we stayed in touch. We were connected on social media, and we've ventured into other things that I've learned from Shelly along the way, she is a wealth of information well beyond Quantum Touch. And now here we are doing this collaboration of videos, which I'm really excited about, because I find it will be helpful for people to have shorter videos talking about specific aspects of Quantum Touch. Which brings us to our topic for tonight, which is, what is Quantum Touch? So do you want to start this one off, Shelly?
Sure, because that is a big question that people have, because Quantum Touch, it seems so abstract, like, oh, how can I get a hold of this? Because when we're talking about the quantum field or the quantum realm, you're thinking, oh my goodness, what is that? Is it like the fairy kingdom, or some magical place that I'm never going to get to see?
Seems very vague.
Right, it's very vague. So right out of the chute, it has to do with holding a resonance or a certain flavor or frequency of energy. For example, the base foundation of Quantum Touch is love and gratitude. So we're familiar with what love feels like love for our child, love for our companion, love for our siblings and our parents, people in our life that we just really love. And on top of that, we're grateful for them. Most of the time, unless there's some little strife or something, then we use Quantum Touch and send Quantum Touch to the situation and let it just unravel itself and melt away. So we're holding a certain flavor of resonance, and then as a practitioner, the practitioner is not the healer. They're holding that resonance, that flavor of energy, whether it's joy or love or gratitude for a specific thing in their life, or gratitude for whomever they're sending energy to. And as they do the Quantum Touch techniques, then they're holding that high resonant field and letting the client naturally entrain to that. So what does that mean? That means that kind of like tuning forks. So we can get the example of, like, if we have tuning forks, and one is standing up in a tray in its holder and nothing's touching it. And let's say it's an A tuning fork, the note of A or the key of A. And then we take one of the same key and we strike it on its striker, and we put it in proximity to that first one. They will start, that one that's standing in its tray will start to vibrate, not as loud probably, but it will start vibrating and resonating, right? And then they'll start entraining to one another and that vibratory resonance.
I love the tuning fork example, because I think it really brings to life and to physicality something that, like you said, is so abstract. And even the word quantum, before I got into Quantum Touch, I would feel myself even shut down a little bit if I heard the word quantum, because it sounds very abstract, definitely complicated. And, so it's now it's part of my everyday vocabulary. And one word that I really like to use is calibration. It's calibrating, which is the same concept as entrainment. But has maybe a more mechanical connotation to it, that the practitioner is holding the higher vibration, and that the client is calibrating to that vibration. And I just love the word calibration. It to me, it sounds really harmonious, and active, like an action. And yeah, I use that word a lot. I have a hard time sometimes describing what quantum touch is, and I do it every day. And sometimes, and I find it depends who the audience is, because some people are already in the world of energy healing, so they're used to different types of terminology, like say source energy, consciousness, calibration, entrainment, things like that. And some people aren't. So sometimes somebody said, what's quantum touch? It's a really weird thing, but it's very cool and it makes me feel amazing, you know? So I just roll with that too. You know, I feel like there's many different ways to describe it, because it is a modality that's full of potential that can affect people in so many different ways, not just in one specific way. And that is its quantum nature, is the realm of possibilities, of course. So I play with it sometimes. For the longest time, I would just try a different way of describing it to each person who asked, because it gave me practice. And of course, there's the added element of that it's called quantum touch, and it doesn't have to be done by touching, or even in the same room or the same country. So that part I find is fascinating, because usually when I explain it to people, they can get on board with being in the same room, but then when you tell them it can be done at a distance, then that's a whole other realm of explanation. And so how do you deal with that?
Well, I think to put it in everyday terms, it's good to say that entrainment would equal the word match. So let's look at crickets at night. So first, when evening starts arriving on the scene, then the crickets will start. You'll hear one over here and a random one there, and then more of them will start making their little chirpy noises. But as the evening advances, then they start chirping all together. And I like to tease my children when they were growing up and say that the crickets were cricking, and my daughter would remind me, Mom, they don't crick. So anyway, they start cricking together, and making their little chirpy noises at the same time. So this is what we're doing when we're holding a certain resonant frequency, which is seeing or feeling, like in our inner image, that person that we're sending energy to is already well and whole. We're holding that space, and we're feeling gratitude for that happening for them, and we're holding that space. So that's putting out that vibratory resonance. So we can get clear about these terms as we move forward with the flow of these conversations. So we're holding that space of love and gratitude, basically, or happiness or joy or delight. And that is a specific vibratory resonance or frequency. So then as we do that, then the client, the one that's receiving the energy, or in quantum touch terms, is the healer. The practitioner is not the healer, which is super amazing for quantum touch.
Exactly.
So then they'll automatically, because us as being in physical bodies, we want to match the resonant. We're looking for others that match the frequency that we're holding in our life, or that's what's being attracted to us. So when we do that in a physical way, like what we're talking about, then the one that we're sending energy to will start automatically, their energy will rise up to meet that high resonant field or frequency to match that loving feeling that the practitioner is holding on their behalf.
It's really amazing. And I'm sure that there's people who wonder, well, how come it's not the opposite? How come the practitioner doesn't entrain to the client? And my understanding is that its entrainment happens to the higher or stronger vibration. And so that's why we in quantum touch, we learn these techniques of mind-body awareness techniques to raise our vibration and to strengthen it so that it doesn't have that pull, so that we don't get tired out, we don't get dragged down by somebody else's vibration. And sometimes when I'm talking to people about the idea of energy and entrainment and calibration, I'll use the example, sometimes you're interacting with somebody and it's just whenever you see them, you feel dragged down. The life gets sucked out of you. And so I guess the answer would be like, don't go visit them. So I said so why, if you were in a good mood and you arrived, like you were feeling pretty good, high vibe, and they were kind of a downer, then why do you get dragged down? So I told them they're more committed to their unhappiness or to their say lower vibration than you are to the higher one. So it's important for us as practitioners to use the techniques that we learn to maintain our vibration and to have a strong vibration during our sessions. Not that, usually I don't feel that there's a risk of me getting kind of sucked down into a lower vibration, but I really feel that that's an important point to make, because I think Richard mentions that in his book, The Power to Heal, Richard Gordon, the founder of Quantum Touch, that it's the higher or stronger vibration that wins out. And I always thought that was interesting, because if it's the higher one isn't stronger, then it might not win out. So it's an interesting thing to remember for me as a practitioner, to keep myself in, using the techniques as I do the sessions, and make sure that I don't stop doing them, and that I really create, become the channel for the high vibration, because of course it's not my own energy, it's the energy that's coming through me, which I think is important to know too. So it's not my energy that's facilitating the client to self-heal. So there's so many aspects. I feel like also whenever you and I get together, our conversation just kind of rolls and rolls. So we could really talk forever. Is there anything else that you want to add about the definition? Because I'm sure in future episodes we'll get into more technical things or finer details. But in terms of the definition and how you describe it to people who might be new to quantum touch, do you have anything that you want to add?
Well, I feel like, you touched on several points there. My personal knack is sending distant energy. And I've heard other people say that as well. When we're using quantum touch techniques, that's what's helping us hold that high vibe, that high resonant field, or frequency. So that's what helps with the quantum touch so that it works. And so when we take the level 1 workshop, we learn how to do those techniques, and holding that space throughout an entire session takes practice, and awareness and mindfulness. And we all have our bad days. So even though we know these techniques, if we're not being mindfully aware, we can get dragged down by someone else's state of being. But if we can catch ourselves, and maybe we can step aside or go, in another room for a moment and send energy to ourselves and reset ourselves, so that before we enter the room with someone else that we recognize as maybe someone that we have, how should I put, adventures with in our life, then we can already be prepared with being mindfully aware and keeping our high vibratory resonance, as we've been talking about, staying upbeat and uplifting regardless of what that other person is doing. One thing that came to my mind while you were talking was, and I know you haven't watched a whole bunch of movies, maybe you watched one.
Yeah, we have this inside running joke about this.
Yeah, but I know a lot of viewers will have seen this movie, is Ghostbusters. And so if we remember when he was laying on on the floor in the hall, and I don't think it was Egon. I can't remember who it was. Anyway, maybe somebody put it in the comments. One of them was laying back on his floor, on his back on the floor, and he had all this slime on him because one of the entities had slimed him. And I kind of joke about that with quantum touch, because instead of coming away from an energy lightwork session feeling slimed by the person that you just sent energy to, which can happen in a lot of modalities. When you add quantum touch techniques to the session, that can be all avoided. It can be avoided. You don't need to end up feeling like he was flat on his back with all this gooey slime all over him and saying, he slimed me, So
yeah, I don't want that.
Yeah, and the other aspect was in our Native American culture, they have a saying of be the hollow bone. And this is really, really a good picture of letting that life force energy flow through us to the other during a session and holding that high vibe at that level. Yeah, it's just puts it right there in a nice picture because we're letting it flow through us to the other. And basically that's what's happening. But the quantum touch techniques is what helps us as practitioners hold that high vibe throughout the entire session so that our client can start moving to match that and rising up in their vibratory resonance to match that.
Exactly. And that's what I find. I don't know a lot about other energy healing modalities. I'm not certified in other modalities, but my understanding is these techniques is what makes quantum touch so unique, and I think also very, very effective. And I will often do some of them. Well, this one particular technique that we learn I think it was in the supercharging class, and I will often do that before a client session, and to assure, and part of it has to do with the channel that runs up your middle, and it's funny because now I feel like I'm going to be using this image of the hollow bone while I'm doing it, and because I find it really helps me in my preparation for my client sessions. So, but I love that image. It's fantastic. So I hope people for anybody who watches this, which is our inaugural episode of our chats, which we're calling All Things Quantum Touch. So I hope that people have gained insight into what is quantum touch. And if they're not familiar with the terminology, or it still is kind of mysterious, then I say roll with that. It is mysterious, it's wonderful, it's fascinating, there's so many possibilities with it. So, and that's really what people need to know. And if they have a curious mind and are interested in trying it out, then definitely don't hold back. And if anyone wants to continue this conversation with either Shelly and I, we're going to put our info in the description below, as far as I remember, right, Shelly?
We are contactable.
Our contact info. So if anybody wants to contact us, then that would be fantastic. I'm sure Shelly, as well as I, would be happy to continue the conversation. And any last thoughts for our first episode of All Things Quantum Touch?
Well, I would encourage anyone watching these videos, and any of them that we make, because we're going to be making several of them, for as long as there's questions. We won't be answering questions that would involve what's delivered in the quantum touch workshops themselves, but things like what we've been talking about, and we'll probably be sharing some of our own experiences and how we use quantum touch in our life on a daily basis. And then also, if you have any questions, put them down in the comments underneath the video, and then we will refer to those and include them in our videos. Like we'll have Renee and I will have conversations about it, so we can answer those questions. And then just follow the links to our practitioner pages on the Quantum Touch website. And then from there, you'll be able to gain access to our websites. And at the bottom of mine, because I'm an instructor, just scroll down to the bottom of the page, and it'll show which workshops I have coming up. And you can get in touch with me regarding that, or register for the next coming up one. And I have all the instructions there to do that. And Renee has all the instructions for having sessions with her.
Perfect. Yeah, thanks so much, Shelly. And definitely, if anybody's thinking of taking a class, Shelly is an amazing, fascinating, very talented teacher. So don't hesitate to take a class with her. I love my class with you. It was fantastic. And I love the idea of people putting questions in the comments below, because often, because you and I are involved in Quantum Touch regular, it's become a part of our life. We don't see it from the eyes necessarily of somebody who's very new to it, who is just learning about it and has questions that come from that perspective. So I'd love to get questions from people who are watching this. And I think that concludes our inaugural episode of All Things Quantum Touch. So it was always a pleasure to talk to you, Shelly, and I look forward to our next chat.
Beautiful. See you next time.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
Thanks for joining us for this episode of All Things Quantum Touch. If you'd like to contact us, you can reach us via the links in the description below. See you next time when we discuss the question, what is life force energy?